Brews and Banner Podcast. Banner Podcast. Brews and Banner Podcast. What up, what up, what up? Welcome to Brews and Banner Podcast. I'm your host, Rob G. And with me, as always, is the Legendary Brew Crew. What up, fellas?
I was reading this weekend.
Mama.
Nah, it doesn't taste like dirt. My name is Lou Belgium, ladies and gentlemen. I'm wondering.
Does Delaware have an actual culture? This is the podcast that we talk about beer, but we also talk about a lot of things that's happening in the world, politics, movies, anything really that comes to our mind while we're here sampling these brews. Grab a drink and pull up a chair.
Ooh, we love you, Brews and Banter Podcast.
You heard what they said. Perfect. Breathe.
What up? Welcome to Brewsing Banter Podcast, where the topic is the rockin' and the brew. Well, that be the fuel. I'm your host, Rob G. And with me, as always, the Legendary Brew Crew. What's going on, fellas?
Hi.
Hello, everyone.
This is episode 293 of Brewsing Banter Podcast. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. I'm glad you have finally found us on your podcast platforms and all that good stuff. For all of our tournament bruisers.
And
I didn't put the poll out yet, so I'm gonna wait till I put the poll out.
And Brewsers.
Until I put the poll out, I'm just gonna leave it where it is.
Okay, well, I'm gonna say it. Brewsers.
Cheers to you.
Welcome back to the podcast. We are glad you can join us again today. We have a great. Well, let me check in with you, gentlemen. How y'all gentlemen doing today? Y'all all right?
Oh, I appreciate you. I'm doing all right. Thank you. I'm very tired, but I'm here today. I'm here for the podcast.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How are you, Yoda? Are you all right?
I'm doing pretty good, guys.
Good.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Thanks for asking.
Rob,
I'm
turn
great,
it back on you. How are you? You're good?
I'm great. I can't complain.
Lou, how are you?
Who's on first?
He'll ask Lou. He'll ask you, Rob. And then Rob, you got to do that.
When you ask me, Yoda, I'm gonna be a little different. My answer gonna be different.
You know what? I'm not doing so well.
Yeah, times have changed. Times have actually changed. The last 30 seconds have been crazy.
Hey, it's possible. You never know.
You never know. 30 seconds is a long time.
Yeah.
You get somebody pregnant that quick.
Sure.
What?
Sure.
That's where your mind goes? Okay. All right. I feel like it takes longer, though. I think it takes longer, though.
I think so, too. Well, Rob calculated this here. 30, 32.
18.
I was calculating. I just that was the first thing that you thought of when you thought things.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, Rob. Why are you thinking that? Why is that on his mind?
I don't know.
All right. Well, we do have a great guest with us this afternoon, this morning, this evening, whenever you are listening or watching the podcast, because I am caught up on posting all the episodes.
Give yourself a hand clap, sir. Congratulations to Rob G, our producer behind the scenes.
Yo, he probably broke with YouTube trying to load all them videos at the same time.
Took him a long weekend. This long weekend was worth it.
It was a while. I took it in steps. Slow steps.
Yeah.
But I got there. I mean,
so it's on. So all of our episodes are uploaded on YouTube.
Yes. Even if they don't have video, if they have audio, they're still there as well.
Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome.
Oh, now we can promote YouTube. Guys, make sure you check us out on YouTube.
Yes, please subscribe. Subscribe, like, share. You do all that stuff on the YouTube.
Now they got to smile more.
Yeah, you do. You be thinking it's gonna be on a clip. Now it's gonna be a whole 90 minutes.
All right. Well, we do have a great guest, like I said, this afternoon, this morning, this evening. And we want to get right to it. What we do?
What was that? No, you don't have to do all that, sir.
Do what? I didn't do nothing.
It's not you. It's your brother. It
Oh.
looked like he's frozen. He said now that we on YouTube's, he got the smile all the time.
Smile. See, I wasn't even looking. I'm looking down.
Yeah, he's frozen. He can't even drink his beer. He's smiling so hard.
He's gonna drill it out his face.
He got to pull his lip out just to pour it in there.
So we do have a great guest for the third time.
We do.
We have a best-selling author. Actually, he was a former Silicon Valley entrepreneur. He also now has one of the top 3% podcasts called Soul Seeker, and he's a TEDx speaker. We have coming to the stage is Sam Kabert, and so we're going to bring him to the stage. Let me round of applause.
Yay, we can't hear it.
Welcome.
What
Sam.
up, guys? Thank you so much for the warm introduction. I love the energy and the vibes all the way around. I'm stoked to be here.
Appreciate you.
We are glad you can join us. Before we get into everything, we always like to know what everybody's drinking on. So, what are we drinking today? And we always start with our guests. So, Sam, what you drinking on today?
I'm drinking this hazy IPA from Alvarado Street. They're in Salinas, Monterey, California. I'm out in Santa Cruz, California, so it's about an hour away. One of my favorites. They make a lot of great beer.
Okay.
All right. What's the ABV on that? Do you know?
Let's look. 6.5%. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice. All right. Yeah, what you got?
I got something you gave me from Dewey Beer Co. out in Dewey Beach, Delaware. This is part of their thrills. This is Fabric. I guess this is their 10th anniversary beer. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's one of them. Yeah.
Well, one of them. Yeah, I like the little gold trim that they put on there in the gold Dewey beer. I might keep this. This is nice. I like this. I like the Thrills character anyway. But this one here is a what's in this one? This one has raspberry, mango, sweet cherry, birthday cake. Like, I don't know, like I taste a lot of fruit. I don't really taste no birthday cake, but I guess if you say it's in there, you could just say it's in there because
no bready, no nothing.
Nah, I don't really taste anything cakey. I don't taste nothing cakey. I just taste a lot of sweet, fruity.
Well, for that fruit in there, even if it was cake in there, that would probably absorb it.
Yeah, that's true. It's coming in at a whopping 5.25% ABV, which
0.25. They went out to the 25.
Yeah, they hit them with the 25 on.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
That's weird.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Maybe because it's 10 anniversary, hit them with the 525s. Nah, that's
tried it.
Yeah, I did.
5 to 5, so 5 times 2, maybe. Yeah.
5 times 2 is 5 times 2 is 10.
Why are we doing this?
I don't know.
Because 5.25.
Nah, we ain't gonna do that.
I think that's a hidden Easter egg. I think we just found a hidden Easter egg in the 10-year anniversary beer. I'm gonna hit them up. I'm gonna find out.
Probably. Yeah, but if you say that, they're gonna say, "Yeah, that's what it was."
Yeah, of course. That's what we did.
You gotta lose.
But
you did it again.
Looks like. Here's what it looks like in the cup. I got it in my little banner cup.
But
it's very thick.
Yeah, you can't see through that thing at all.
You can't see through it at all. I mean, it's a smoothie beer, so that's what you expect.
Right.
And it is delicious. And of course, every time Dewey gives me something sweet and delicious, I say, "Pass me another." So. Pass me another.
Oh man, I gotta clip that and send that to them. That was a commercial, yo. Sweet and delicious sunset. That was awesome, man.
You know.
All right, Lou, what you got?
Water, nothing. But if you look above us, if you look above me, bink, 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 you see all them big that bottom, them big cans. That's shit that we made. Brews and Banner podcast.
Nice. Okay, so
yeah,
you at least represent.
If it's around, drink some.
There you go.
You can't use the bing, bing, bing. That's trademark.
I can. It's trademarked by Brews and Banner podcast. I'm a member.
Rob
I'll give you a 25 cent behind the scenes. I'll give I'll pay you behind the scenes, sir.
You can't bing up and sit down.
Sit down. Yeah, I guess that's the trademark is the down. I did it up. I'm trademarking it up.
Yeah. That's true.
Trademarking it up.
That's true.
Rob, what you drinking on?
I got from Brooklyn Brewery. It is their Fonio Rising. There it is. It's a 5% ABV pale ale. It's a brew with the ancient West African super grain that I know Garrett Oliver is really promoting to see, because it's a sustainable grain that they are promoting, trying to get other breweries to use it. Fonio Rising. It's actually pretty good. I don't really taste no real difference. So hey, if it's sustainable and it's better for the environment, why not use it?
Absolutely.
Especially if it ain't changing the flavor too much.
Right.
So, yeah.
I thought it would though. I thought it was its own specific type of hop, but it's more of a just a.
Well, it's the grain,
like,
so it's like like the.
That's what I meant.
Yeah,
but it's more like a vegan grain.
I don't know the history. I don't know the history behind it, but a vegan grain ain't. Oh, well,
yeah, I don't know. I'm
vegan already.
I'm not saying that. Yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's sustainable. It's a different type. Like people. Never mind. It doesn't matter, man. It tastes delicious and it don't taste different with the Fonio. That's all that matters.
Yeah. I think it takes less resources to produce or something to that effect. Like maybe because I don't know.
So I guess that's a plus.
Yeah, but I think they did a couple collaborations throughout the U.S. I think Heineken did one, or somebody else did one with
like a big beer company did.
Yeah, with the grain, because I think Garrett Oliver went all over the world promoting the use this grain. So I enjoyed it. This is my third one, so I'm gonna pass me another.
Yeah, you already did, obviously.
Yeah, you ain't never passed another to us.
Not third one. Not third one today. Third one.
Wow, okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I gotta catch up.
I was going to say how. I was going to say he went crazy because I was just with him before we all going.
Right.
I did the Steve Austin.
So you drunk a quarter of a beer.
Yeah, because he don't get none of that in his mouth.
No, he never gets drunk off of that. That move never gets him drunk.
Well, everybody had something great to drink on, so we are excited to hear all about who you are, Sam, what you're doing, how everybody can learn from what you are doing. So without further ado, we want to give you another round of applause, and the proverbial floor is yours.
All right. Well, thanks again, guys. I appreciate being here. I started my first podcast back 8 years with my homie Sergio Oliveri, and he's a huge, what do you call it, beer head. I mean, I got into drinking beers a lot of ways because of him, and just like, all the things. But when we started that podcast, it was very similar to what you guys are all about. Like, we'd have a beer, maybe two, and just like enjoying each other's company, interviewing guests, and just who knows where it's going to go. And it's nice to be in that energy. So I'm stoked to be here. That podcast was called What Up Silicon Valley. And this is funny, actually. That was 2017. I still use this mouse pad. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it, where we had our first logo from 8 years ago. I still use it, but that podcast was the catalyst to me being named to Silicon Valley's 40 under 40 list. It really helped my career in a lot of ways, and I achieved a lot of success and goals. And then in 2019, I went through a numbing depression. I had been chasing all these different accolades only to feel more empty. And after that, I sat with the plant medicine ayahuasca. So we were making some jokes about psychedelics before and mushrooms. But plant and earth medicine, psychedelic therapy, it's super close to my heart. It changed my entire life. From there, I changed the industry, the business I was in, moved out of Silicon Valley to the beach town of Santa Cruz, and a lot of things changed. And here I am 6 years later. Now, what I focus on more than anything else is teaching people how to regulate their nervous system through breathwork and combining that with subconscious reprogramming. Because a lot of times we talk about mental health, but we don't talk about our emotional health. You know, there's been so much stigma around mental health, and now like people are starting to open up to have these conversations about mental health. And where I feel like we're missing it is not speaking about emotional health. So I think emotional health is the next wave, and I'll close it here. Like, think about mental health being like thoughts being the language of the mind, and feelings being the language of the body, being emotional health. So we need both mental and emotional. So that's what I'm about now.
Okay, so
all right.
because
Now, when you said regulate your nervous system, like, is it normally like all over the place? Like why do you need to regulate your nervous system, I guess?
right, yeah.
Well, you guys ever get triggered?
Yeah.
Sure.
So okay, well, let's start there. What is being triggered though? Like, what does that really?
You know, like when you have an overreaction, or if you've ever seen the movie, have you guys seen the movie Kill Bill?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh man, that's one of my favorites. So in that movie, like she has her inner alarm system going off when she sees those people that tried to kill her that she's running after. Like that's how I think about getting triggered. All of a sudden, I could be like just happy-go-lucky, whatever, and the next thing you know, either my breath shortens and I'm in anxiety, I'm feeling stress, or I'm feeling rage. Any of those emotions. But the truth is that our emotions only last 90 seconds. Literally, science teaches it as the 90-second rule. We have a 90-second physiological response when we experience an emotion. We have all these chemicals released and we feel these emotions. And most of us don't know how to regulate our nervous system, meaning that we are going straight into the sympathetic nervous system of fight or flight. And we're not designed to be in fight or flight on an ongoing basis. So when we have a new negative thought or feeling, whatever it is in the mind, and that thought sends a feeling into our body, where now we have that response where it's known as like a triggered state. Like we hear something, you experience something that you associate on a subconscious level with a past event. So let's break down some terms. The subconscious mind makes up 95% of our awareness. That's everything that we don't have access to. We're only consciously aware 5%. So when we get triggered, what's happening is all of a sudden we're getting into that fight or flight state. And since it's happening on a subconscious level, we're not even aware of it, but we're associating what's happening right now with something that's unresolved from our past. So the reason why we have the overreaction is because we've never resolved the past. And I help people to get to the root so that we can resolve the past. The other way I help people is like within that moment of when we get into that heightened state, we're not going to be able to resolve the past in that moment, but we can regulate our nervous system, which is to say shift into rest and digest and not go further down, like having something that's fear. Let's use anger, for example. And the next thing you know, you're yelling at that person, you're overreacting. It's not warranted how much you're reacting to what's going on, because subconsciously you're associating the present event with something that happened in your past.
I mean, that makes complete sense.
Is that all the time? So anytime I get angry and I'm fussing at somebody, it's because of something that happened to me in my past?
Typically, yeah. I mean, specifically if it's an overreaction. If you look at a scenario where you're angry at someone and the amount of anger that you have, it isn't warranted for what happened, it's likely because it's something that's unresolved from the past.
Which makes sense why it's called triggered. Because I guess if it wasn't something that happened in the past, then it's something that specific situation wouldn't be your trigger. Because you've never been through it before. So yeah, I guess that would make sense.
And it'd be calling trigger, you pop off a little bit extra and more.
Yeah, because now you're like,
you empty the clip when you should have just shot one shot.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to overkill.
Right.
Yeah. You already killed the person, like in Uma Thurman's case in Kill Bill. She already killed them in the third eye, but then she shoots 5 more bullets to make sure.
Make sure.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I never thought I never thought about it like that. Though.
Yeah, I've
But it
heard
makes
about
sense.
the 90 seconds of emotion, and if you're able to control and realize what emotion you just jumped into, you could. I didn't know breathwork could help, but I know that if you could figure out a way to, hey, this is making me upset. This is, like you said, triggering me, and you could figure it out within that 90 seconds, it's over, and you can be back to happiness again, or back to whatever emotion you were before.
Yeah, maybe not even happiness, like
Yeah.
maybe not in that extreme, but at least not that overreaction and
Right.
like a balanced state, you know?
Or no, just like the 90 seconds it happens, and then you take that calm, and within that next 90 seconds you can analyze what happened and be in just in a calmer state because you recognize that you're being triggered within the first 90 seconds.
That's it, Lou.
So Sam, how did you get into this?
Yeah, you mentioned ayahuasca.
Yeah, like this is a lot going on.
You was talking real fast in the beginning.
Yeah.
We need to go back and figure out like some steps here.
Like because the podcast you started the podcast in Silicon Valley, or were you already in Silicon Valley working and doing things there, or did the podcast parlay into things in Silicon Valley?
Yeah, I grew up in Silicon Valley, about 30 minutes south of Farmtown. It's called Gilroy, garlic capital of the world. So just 30 minutes south. And in college,
I've heard of that festival. I've heard of that
exactly.
What, the garlic festival?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh shit.
It's the garlic capital of the world, brother. Of course they got a festival.
Yeah.
It's all
Exactly. That's it though. So I grew up there, and then after college, I went to college in Northern California, which California is a big state. Like tip it's probably like 10, 12 hours. But Northern California down to Silicon Valley is like 3 hours. And then LA is about 6 hours south of Silicon Valley. So I moved from like Northern back to Silicon Valley, was running my business. And really back then, like, you know, it's hard to gain respect in a place that's so tech driven and so disruptive. What I was doing was promotional products, so branded merchandise. So being a guy that was doing branded merchandise, like it was really challenging to get respect, right? You know, so I started networking a lot, doing different offline networking events, was on the board of a few nonprofits. So networking was something that I utilized. That stuff's kind of boring unless you want to go there. But we mentioned ayahuasca. You want to go there? Tell me where you want to go, and I'm happy to go there.
We want to go everywhere.
Yeah. Okay, so ayahuasca, you guys are probably familiar or have heard about it, right?
Yeah.
I've heard about it.
Aaron Rodgers is always
right.
Yeah, I noticed the Brian Dawkins jersey in the behind you. So I was like, yeah, you guys know about Aaron Rodgers or you know about ayahuasca because Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. Thank God.
But to be honest, I don't really. Aaron Rodgers ain't one of my favorite people, so I hear about it, but I don't actually know what it is.
Yeah,
it's like Aaron Rodgers and what is it, Burning Man? It's like those two things. That's
no.
Yeah, that's how you reference it.
Well, so let's think about it this way, like psychedelic. Let's use the term psychedelic in like Burning Man or festivals, all of those things. Like that's like recreational use of psychedelics, and no shame, you know, whatever. But that's just it is.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers, it's I like to say instead of psychedelics, plant medicine and earth medicine. Plant medicine meaning that's coming from the plants, earth medicine meaning like it's coming from the earth, like mushrooms are in plant. So it's earth medicine. You can talk your ear off about the toad medicine where Mike Tyson talks about where it comes from toad. It's not a plant, so it's earth medicine, right? But the point is if it's plant and or earth medicine, always those are used for healing. So it's a very different intention. Like all jokes aside, like Aaron Rodgers, You know, I'm a fan of his. I went to college where he grew up in that town, right?
Okay.
Northern California, Chico State. So I'm a Niners fan, you know, but I'm an Aaron Rodgers fan because I went to college from where he's from. And there's other things too. And then he stepped into the medicine world. That said, he's done a lot of things to really alienate himself and make himself look bad and look like the butt of a lot of jokes. Truth is, though, all the work that he's done, at least from the public eye, what he talks about publicly, it's for healing. It's not like he's going to Burning Man. He's going to these festivals and he's using psychedelics just like for recreational use and to party. Like he's doing the inner work. He's really trying to address that. And that's a completely different intention than no shade to Burning Man or festivals or, you know, anything like that. But it's a deep work and it's not for the faint of heart. It's super challenging, you know?
And to be frank, Aaron Rodgers do have some family issues that he does need to come to grips with. So if it's helping him, cheers to him. You know what I mean? Like I just want him to say if he's playing football or not. That's what I'm tired of. Like, when I mentioned he gets on my nerves and I don't really care for him, that's what it is. It's like retire or play. Just let the Steelers know.
Yeah, I agree.
But why is it so difficult for in that, I guess that plant earth industry, like medical industry? Why is it so difficult? Is it because the big pharma doesn't want you to know about it because they want to just keep pushing medication, or like why is it so hard to get that across?
Well, okay, so I'm talking about the experience itself. Like, have you guys? I don't know if you feel like sharing, but have you ever been on, say, a psychedelic or even marijuana, cannabis, where you feel something or you see something or something happens where you don't want to see it, and it's just like, oh no, because beer and alcohol is nice. You know, because in a lot of ways it's numb and it's avoidant, whereas like psychedelics, even cannabis, all of these things, they make you feel, and that can be overwhelming.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
We're all well, me and Blue, we partake in cannabis. Rob
does not.
Rob doesn't, but he has, and he had a bad experience.
He cannot. That's
what I'm talking about. Those quote unquote bad experiences. So ayahuasca is like that times 100. Like if we're just looking at ayahuasca, one thing that happens is like somatically, which that word just means that you're feeling it. You're feeling your emotions or repressed emotions or repressed and suppressed traumas that are coming to the surface. A lot of people in medicine ceremony will have something come up that they totally don't even remember, like sexual abuse from when they were a kid or even older, because they totally blocked it out as a survival. Yeah. And then ayahuasca, like we say, it makes you see it from all the different angles and a lot of times relive it. So not only is that challenging from like an emotional point of view, but you're also feeling it in your body. Like it's challenging.
Wow.
Now when is it called a trip? Was that the right way to say it? I don't want to be disrespectful.
I appreciate you asking, Lou. Yeah, most people would say like your journey.
Okay. So is it a one-time thing? Is it a every month? Is it how often would you go on the journey?
Yeah, for sure. A lot of people, it's going to be like a one in their life, right? And then they'll do that experience. Then they might sit with ayahuasca a handful of times, or perhaps they venture out to other medicines as well. For each person, it's going to be different. You know, there's a classic saying that 90% of the work is in the integration and only 10% is the actual journey, like being with the medicine. So ayahuasca will last about 6 hours. Most of the time when someone does this, it's called a ceremony. When someone does a ceremony, it's going to be at least 2 nights or maybe 4 nights. And so you would be doing it 2 to 4 times, right? You know, in that stretch. And then after that, like it shows you all these different things in your day-to-day life. For most people that have never done anything like that, and I can speak for myself and a lot of my clients and peers as well, like it turns your complete world upside down. It's like earth shattering. So it's like, now what do you do? And that's where the 90% is in the integration. So like making sense of it, and what am I going to do for moving forward in my life? Like for me, in the example I said, I moved out of Silicon Valley. I got out of a toxic relationship. I got out of the business I was in. I started to become a student of the universe. I became a yoga instructor, a breathwork facilitator, all this different stuff, because I was like, I'm now on a different path. So I'm integrating these experiences. When people don't integrate them, they just get stuck. They're still in the same cycles they always have been.
Integration of the experience makes you work on the past traumas that you had, quote unquote, your triggers. That
So
Yes, sir.
so is this so? I'm just trying to understand this. So this journey is supposed to be your start. You're starting, right? The journey is supposed to be what puts these thoughts or brings back this trauma or
into the forefront.
And then the process is supposed to be that you work on that, on what the thoughts were that came up in that moment. Is that what I'm hearing? That you're supposed to like work on these thoughts?
Work on these thoughts, you said? It's more than triggers.
Stuff that came up, well, the triggers, yeah. So
yeah.
you're supposed to work on these after you have this journey.
Yeah, imagine Yoda, like if you did a journey with ayahuasca and then you found out when you're 5 years old your grandpa sexually abused you and you didn't know that, right? Like, what would you do? That's just as an example, right?
Right.
Like, what would you do differently in your life? You're not just going back, oh, everything's all good. Let me just go back to doing the podcast, going back to work. Like, some people do that. They do. And they just repress it even more. But like the people that are like really, they call it doing the work and showing up for themselves. They're like, okay, maybe I'm going to see a therapist. Maybe I'm going to explore this modality or this thing or that thing. Like I need to do something to process this.
So don't even take a journey unless you're ready to fix what you don't even know about yourself right
what
now.
you see in this journey.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're going to see something in the journey that you're not going to be ready for, because you probably repressed it and you may not remember it. It may not be the best. Is there ever a good journey? You ever go on a journey and the repressed memories or something happened?
Yeah. I get.
Is it always dark stuff?
I mean, it's not necessarily dark, right? Like a lot of people have beautiful experiences and they're experiencing different things, and understand too, like it's kind of like the classic symbol of the yin and the yang. The yin and the yang serves each other, right? So when we sit through or dress the darkness, we get to the other side of the light. So when we get to that ceremony, we experience something that we don't want to experience, but we surrender to it. We alchemize it, or that is to say, we transform it into something that is more empowering. So that's the whole point of this. It's called shadow work. The Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung termed the coin the shadow, and all that means is to make the unconscious conscious. Now, earlier I said the subconscious makes up 95% of your awareness. The subconscious is the exact same thing as the unconscious. Those terms are just used interchangeably. So when we quote unquote do the work on ourselves, all that means is to prioritize your mental and emotional health. However you're doing it, that is shadow work, to making the unconscious to conscious awareness.
Okay, I have a question. Can you take Rob through the journey? So from the 2 to 4 day journey, he finds some traumatic or triggering event that has happened to him in his past. Are there people with him through those 2 to 4 days monitoring him? And and you said it's 6 hours at a time. So those other 18 hours of the day, are we doing work at that point in time, trying to figure out what he experienced in his past night or past day off his journey? And then what happens after those 4 days, 2 to 4 days, as far as you're concerned with Rob?
I love these questions, Lou. These are so good.
I'm interested, man. Like, I'm gonna ask you how much it costs at the end.
Yeah,
I may get this taken care of. I got some things.
Yeah, man, I feel that. Well, I'll get to that. Earlier, you mentioned, which you said it so well, like, don't do this work unless you're ready for it, right? Like the medicine finds you, it calls to you. I tell people all the time, like, if you need to roll up your sleeves and do Googling like you would to find a good flight and plan a vacation, that's in the masculine energy of doing. This energy of doing this work is in the feminine energy of being. And typically, when you're ready for the medicine, it comes to you. Here's a quick example. In 2017, this guy that came into my life super random. Like, you guys see the movie Limitless with Bradley Cooper?
Oh yeah.
Remember how like this guy comes into his life super randomly, and then he gives him this like smart pill, and it's like, oh wow, and all that. Well, this guy came into my life and he started telling me about microdosing with mushrooms and how a lot of Silicon Valley executives do it. And I was like, yeah, I loved mushrooms in high school and college, but I'm a professional now, But then I started doing it, and it was like, oh my God, I was just accessing more flow states, and everything was clicking and syncing. So then he told me about ayahuasca. This was back in 2017 or 2018, it doesn't matter. And I said, ayahuasca? And he started telling me more about it, and I was like, oh my God, that scares the shit out of me. But
Right.
something
You scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, it sounds scary as hell. It sounds scary as hell. Yeah.
So here's the important part of the story. Like, he told me that, but there was a piece of me where it was like, I am so intrigued, and it's good to know there's something out there like that if shit were to ever hit the fan. A year or two later, it came back into my life. I didn't even have the vocabulary then to use words like surrender or be called, but it was just so obvious that I was being guided to this ayahuasca journey. And I was truly at rock bottom in this numbing depression that I was like, I'll do anything, So that's where I was at. And that's why I recommend to people, like, when the medicine naturally comes to you, that makes a lot of sense. But if you start like trying to figure it out and trying to get to a ceremony, then we're in like the masculine energy of doing. And that's when it might be a little bit harder for you of an experience, because you may not be ready. When the medicine comes to you naturally, then it is a calling. Like right now, the fact that we're having this conversation, like, notice over the next few days, weeks, or whatever, if there are more synchronicities or serendipitous moments where you start hearing about this more. That is the natural calling. But if you leave this interview, or someone listening is thinking like, oh yeah, this sounds good, and then you start Googling to try find it, that's the human doing energy, right? So now I'll get to the other point, but any questions there?
That makes a whole lot of sense.
I mean, this stuff's fun, it's really
it's crazy though. Like,
yeah, it is crazy. Yeah. So you asked about like, what does the actual ceremony or experience look like?
Like, give me like from the day that we walk from start our first day of the journey to like a month out.
Yeah, I'll tell you about my experiences, because I know there's so many different ways that people do it. So I'm just going to talk about what I've experienced. The people that I did it with actually lived here in town. They lived in the town I live in now, Santa Cruz. And this is illegal, by the way, as well, in the States, because anything that's going to actually help you, of course, let's give you a pharmaceutical just to numb you instead, that's why it's illegal. So anyways, there's a ayahuasca ceremony. I met the facilitators. They also do what's called breathwork journeys. That's completely different. I did a journey with breathwork, no medicine. That's to say no psychedelics, just me and my breath with a guide, a facilitator, and breathing on with my eyes closed for an hour. I literally felt reborn. Wild, right? So then I sat with those same people to do an ayahuasca ceremony the next weekend. It was at a really nice retreat center here in California. And there was about 10 people in the ceremony with 2 facilitators and 1 assistant.
Sam, hold on. Before you go any further, I just want to stop you for a second. How come the breath, when you did the breath work, how come that wasn't it for you?
That's a great question. That's
because you were reborn.
Because you did say you were reborn, so that's why I'm asking. How come we didn't just stop there? Like, oh, that was great. We didn't stop there.
I was already signed up for the ayahuasca ceremony, and I'm kind of like an all-in person.
Okay,
Gotcha.
so
I'll get this.
I did the whole thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something we could talk about, but I remember, and I'll get back to what the ayahuasca ceremony looks like. But during that ceremony, it's a brew. It's like a tea. It's a drink. It's from 2 different plants in the Amazon that they brew, and you drink it. And it's sludge. Like it tastes. It's terrible. It's molasses, dirt. Whatever. It's not enjoyable. But they were asking if people wanted more. Like a few hours later. And I remember I went up for more, and the facilitator looked at me and he goes, "Oh, you're the deep diver." So to answer your question of like, why didn't you just stop at the breathwork journey? I'm like, oh, I'm
not a quitter.
He went back for seconds.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's to answer your question.
Yeah.
Anyways, though, so this ayahuasca ceremony, it's here in town. It was a weekend thing, 2 nights of ceremony. For a week leading up to it, a week or 2 weeks, you do what's called the dieta. Now, absolutely no alcohol. Not only that, no meat, no like avocado, no fermented foods. It's pretty much like you can't eat anything for like a week or 2. No coffee, true detox. And it's also like it's like an offering, it's starting the ceremony to be like, okay, I'm going to put in the work myself to really already get into an uncomfortable state. So I got there, and we did like a share. So first off, talk about culture shock. They're saying prayers, they're speaking to archangels, there's oracle decks, there's crystals, there's all this different stuff where like you see things in movies where they're like speaking of spirits or they're doing spiritual stuff. And I always was like, oh, that's not real. People don't do that. And then I was like, what did I get myself into? Like this stuff is actually real. Like we're speaking to angels and what's going on. So it was a big culture shock not having like any background in it. Now I love that stuff. But back then, they're saging us. So it's basically taking white sage, it's dried, and then it's called smudging. And that's like an energetic purification, like cleansing the body and the mind and the energy. And we did another breathwork journey, just like I did before, because I had already felt reborn. This one didn't take me as deep, but it was still like very cathartic. We did a lot of share circles. So just like, sitting in a circle and just talking about our intentions, and the facilitators would ask us questions, not to say, hey, you should do this or you should do that, but like guiding questions for us to find the answer for ourselves, like a very peaceful way of going about it. Then we drank the medicine. It's at night. You have like a mat, blindfold, and they're like playing music, like banging drums or whatever, and then you have a bucket right near you because there's what's called the purge. And the purge can come out of either the north end, your mouth, or the south end, your butt, right? So either way, most of the time it's the north, it's the mouth. And then you purge, and that's just like a lot of stuff you're holding on to, like you're puking it out, like energetic purge. And then it just takes you on this like wild journey. And then afterwards we do a share circle, we eat some food. Then the next day is spent pretty much like journaling in your own energy, just whatever it is, just being in nature. And then that night sitting with the medicine again, more share circles in between. And then the morning, a final share circle, and then some best practices for integration. Now, facilitators that serve this medicine, they don't do the best job of providing what to do next. They are really good. I'm speaking in massive generalizations. They are really good at the ceremony itself. They're not as good at helping you prep and to help you to integrate on the other side. So in the past several years,
hold on, Sam. When you say integrate, you mean take what you got from the journey and put it into everyday life. Is that
Yes.
integrate? Okay. I just wanted to be clear. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So basically, I found myself becoming like an integration coach. So a lot of what I do, like behind the scenes, not as much these days because I'm more focused on like corporate and not as much of the psychedelic plant and earth medicine stuff. But for a few years, I was doing a lot of integration work to help people to prepare going into it and then, apply what they learn into everyday life, as you just put it. So that's pretty big picture,
Well, so how did you, if they weren't, the facilitators weren't doing that, how did you learn how to do it?
Yeah, how did you integrate
that came
yourself?
to you? Like,
yeah, it took me a few years. I was very lonely for a while and didn't have much of a community. I joined a mastermind, like a spiritual mastermind with a lot of other people doing this kind of work. I ended up doing yoga teacher training, started to teach yoga. I started to lead men's work, became a breathwork practitioner. And in between all of that, my best friend that I met through that like spiritual mastermind, she serves the toad medicine full time. So for 4 years, I was a part of over 1,000 ceremonies, just traveling the world, assisting her. So she basically at one point just like tapped me on the shoulder and was like, "Hey, you should help my people. You should start helping them integrate." And I was like, "I don't know what to do." And she goes, "You do know what to do. You've been helping people this whole time and you've learned straight from me." So she kind of tapped me on the shoulder and was like, "Hey, why don't you get into this work?" So that's how I started to do it. It was really through lived experience and a few certification programs,
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Wild trip, right?
Yes.
Literally.
Wow, you muted.
Yeah. So when did that? So when did that shift happen? I guess. Like when did you say, "Now I'm going to take it"? Like not because everybody's not into like ayahuasca and earth medicine. So when did you do the shift where that was, I guess, broader appeal? Like when did that shift happen?
Yeah, so the deep work I was doing with all like the ayahuasca stuff and the medicine work, that was 2019 through 2022. And then in February of 2022, I published my 4th book called Soul Life Balance, as opposed to Work Life Balance. And the subtitle was A Guide to Igniting and Integrating Spiritual Awakenings. So it wasn't so much like, hey, you've done ayahuasca. It's like, you've done something and now you've had a spiritual awakening. Here's the book that I wish I had to help me guide me through this process. And at that time, I was like, what's next? And I was like, speaking. So then I got into speaking at corporate and things like that. And I knew I couldn't talk about like, psychedelics and all that. So over since 2022, like I keep continuously refining the message to make it more accessible, kind of like how I started this talking about mental and emotional health and, thoughts are the feelings of the mind and, or thoughts are the language of the mind and feelings are the language of the body, talking about breath work, subconscious reprogramming. Majority of the time now I talk about that. But podcasts, especially podcasts like this, where we're just having a good time, we're drinking a beer, like, hey, let's talk about some of the psychedelic stuff. Like, that's fun, I don't get about that much. So it's always fun,
Yeah, just like anything else, you can overdo it.
So you said your 4th book. What were the first 3 books?
Right. Because the 4th book seems like a good turn from your other authorship. I feel like they didn't co-sign the other 3.
Yeah, what were the other 3?
Yeah, Lou, this is the funny part. The first 3 books I wrote in less than a year, and they're all business books. And then I took 3 years off from writing, just like not intentionally, it just happened. Then I wrote Soul Life Balance. Then the year later, I wrote Psychedelic Compass, which was teaching people like how to prepare for a psychedelic experience, essentially a plant earth medicine. And then last year, I wrote my 6th book, called Overcome the Overwhelm. So there's the magic number of 3. I wrote 3 in a year, took 3 years off. And then for the past 3 years, I wrote 1 book a year. And for the first 3 books, they were all about business. And the most recent 3 were all about like spirituality and mental and emotional health. So it is interesting.
Yeah,
that is very interesting.
That is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you publish your book? Just a sidebar of everything else. How do you publish? Are you self-publishing or you said self-publish?
Yeah.
Cool, man. It's on Amazon right now. Go get it on Amazon, guys.
Yeah, all my books are on Amazon. Yep.
Any other sites besides Amazon?
No, Amazon. Amazon's the best place. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting looking at the publishing game because either you pay for like a hybrid thing and you're paying a lot, but you're not really getting much, or you get picked up by a publisher. And to get picked up by a publisher, you need to have like a massive following. So for now, I'm just going to continue to self-publish anytime a book wants to be born.
Yeah, dope.
All right.
I like
Now-
how you put that. A book wants to be born.
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
exactly.
I like that.
Yeah.
Now,
And
now
then,
below your name right now, you said it's the founder of Breath Club. Now, what is Breath Club?
yes.
Yeah, it's my free online community. So every single Wednesday, which I'll send you guys all invites to as well. Every single Wednesday, I lead Breathwork on Zoom. It's about 30 minutes long. And first 5 minutes are just like check-ins. Last 5 minutes are check-ins, shares, whatever. And then the 25 minutes in between or whatever it is, that's where I'm actually leading breathwork. So in Breath Club, there's online community, weekly breathwork session, and then also I have a whole bank of pre-recorded breathwork exercises that people can do in the privacy of their own home on their own time.
Oh, nice.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah,
We gotta talk about that. I need that.
So why did you decide to lock into the breath work?
Because that's so a lot of times I feel like the work that we do, it's like what we needed or what lights us up most. And it took me a long time to figure it out, to the whole point of like integration, like what do we do next? And breathwork has been more impactful than anything else, and it's the most accessible, and it's just like it's amazing, and more people need it. So it's really because it's helped me so much, and because I when I share it with other people, it helps them so much too.
Mhm, mhm.
And I know I think you briefly mentioned them, but what are the benefits of breath work? Like, what are the benefits of breath work?
All right, so let's get into that. Breathwork's a big term right now. It's definitely trending. So I break it down into two simple categories. There are breathwork exercises and breathwork journeys. Breathwork journeys are those deep cathartic releases where I mentioned earlier, like I literally felt reborn. Think about it this way. Like you guys see those videos of a lion chasing a gazelle in the wild.
Yes.
And then you see afterwards, like if the gazelle's lucky enough to get away, it like shakes and it convulses, right? So what the gazelle just experienced was a trauma. It experienced a traumatic event, and then somatically of the body, it released itself of that DNA cellular memory of that traumatic experience. But because of our Western culture, things are changing now. But for when we grew up, and still now it's happening too, but especially when we grew up in our parents' generation, if as like their 5-year-old self or as a little kid, they express themselves, they're told them that they're being too much, that they're making a scene, whatever it is. And the child's taught on a subconscious level, meaning they're not even aware this is happening, but they're taught to disassociate from their feelings because it's not safe to feel. So now we go through our whole life disassociating, compartmentalizing, and all these different things, where we've had all these different emotions or even traumas come up, and all of that is stuck and stored in the body. So in a breathwork journey, you're breathing in a certain way to shut down the prefrontal cortex of the brain, which is basically the thinking, analytical, judgment side. And we're getting into the limbic system, limbic brain, which is the emotional brain. So what happens is like the conscious awareness of who you are goes offline. It takes a little nap. And then the body is safe to release all those stuck and stored emotions over your lifetime. That's what a breathwork journey is, essentially. It's a more accessible version of like an ayahuasca ceremony. It's a great way. It's not, so that's a breathwork journey. The other side are breathwork exercises, and that's helpful to get you into rest and digest from those triggers we talked about earlier to getting you into a cool, calm, collected, balanced state. So, I forget your exact question, Rob, but I knew I needed to break it down what breathwork was. Can you remind me what you asked?
Oh, just
Oh, the benefits.
The benefits.
The benefits.
Yeah. So on the breathwork journey side, like literally depression, PTSD, like anxiety, all of those type things. On the breathwork exercise, releasing stored emotions, more energy, more clarity, great for stamina, endurance. Steph Curry was asked, what is the number one skill you attribute to your success? And he said, quote unquote, honestly, breathing. Steph Curry, 37 years old, one of the greatest NBA players of all time, and arguably one of the greatest athletes of all time because how much he's moving around the court still to this day. And he attributes breath. So breath works great for stamina. Wow. It's great for endurance. It's great for creativity. It's great for clarity. It's great for emotional release, processing. Like most of what I've talked about this thus far is all emotions, right? Mm-hmm. But then there's the other side where it's like, yeah, and it's amazing for performance. Like I'll do breath work in bed as soon as I wake up in the morning, and then I get out of bed and I'm hammering out pull-ups, and that's before I've even had coffee because breath work gives me more energy naturally. Yeah.
So now I just started looking at this. I just started looking at this guy on Instagram, right? And he said the same thing about breath work. And he was saying he was in this dead-end job and he was so depressed and all these things. And he started doing it. He went on this breath journey, right? And now he's like a deep diver, and he uses this the breath work in his job now because he dives for a living. Mm-hmm. But like, and I'm talking.
Oh, he's a real deep diver.
Yeah.
You
a diver. Yeah, okay. No, he didn't deep dive.
I thought he was deep diving into the breath work.
Nah, he is a diver. Like that's what he does for a living. And he really like holds his breath under the. It's like crazy. Just
like 10 minutes.
Up. Yes,
it's insane. Yeah,
it's so crazy. I'm like, yo, I would die.
I heard that. I gotta hear this story all the way back. I thought it was a deep dive. Yeah. I didn't know he was holding this. I didn't know his breath work is way different.
Yeah, and sometimes what he'll do is that he'll post and he'll have people hold their breath along with them. So he's like, okay, guys, we're gonna hold it for 10 minutes. I mean, for 10 seconds.
10 minutes.
For 10 seconds. For 10 seconds, and you hold your breath, and then it goes longer and longer. And it's like, that is crazy. But he's like, yo, he's a totally different man ever since he started doing it. So
started dying.
Yeah, it's gotta be some truth in his breath thing. Like,
yeah.
For sure. There's I think there's a documentary called Our Deepest Breath that's about free divers. It's about that very same thing. And then there's a movie that just came out. I don't remember what it's called. I think it might be with Woody Harrelson, where it's all about free divers. But yeah, free divers, like,
oh yeah, I've seen
they're incredible with their breath holds. Yeah,
it's a community, like a fishing community, and they
like Thailand or somewhere, right?
Yeah, and like their lungs are different. Because as much time as they spend underwater,
a bunch of Aquaman.
Yeah, pretty much. web feet and stuff. I don't know if that's true.
Jason Momoa.
So I have a question. You said the exercises versus the journey for the breath work. Are the exercises things you can take home with you, or versus the journey is like a one-on-one session? Is that how it works?
All of it, yes. So breathwork, all of it you can take home with you for sure. Breathwork journeys, I do them at yoga studios, and most I've had was maybe like 50 people, give or take. I'll do them one-on-one or group. The free stuff, I do that group. That's not a breathwork journey. It's like an in-between where you're going to process emotions and you're going to feel some stuff, but you're not going to leave it feeling like reborn, And the other thing I do is subconscious reprogramming. I get to the root. So I have something called a breakthrough session where I guide people through this experience that's about 4 to 6 hours long. In a lot of ways, it can be as impactful as an ayahuasca ceremony. And you're not really doing much, but other than I'm putting you in a light trance, and you're just allowing your unconscious to reprogram the supercomputer of your mind, if you will. So that's a whole nother thing. And where I like to spend my time is breath work in terms of like helping people with everyday stress, pressures, triggers, that type of stuff. And then do the breakthrough session to reprogram the subconscious mind as the deep dive. I don't love leading breathwork journeys just for whatever reason. My energy is more calming than it is explosive. So I focus on the things that like lend itself to my skill set, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Wow.
Rob, you're on mute again.
Rob, you're muted again.
So
Ooh.
with the
It's your first day on the pod.
So with the breath work, the club, the books, the TEDx speeches. So when did you say? I guess it's just the next step. When did you say I want to do a podcast? Like when did that? I know you had did a podcast before. When did you say you wanted to take all you've learned over the course of the years and put that now at the Soul Seeker into a podcast?
Yeah, I've probably had like 5 podcasts, give or take, over the years. And then once I started Soul Seeker back in 2019, I sunset all the other ones. So basically, after doing ayahuasca, have this earth-shattering experience and not knowing how to integrate it myself and just feeling lost, and I didn't have community, I decided to, since I already liked podcasting, start a new one where I'd interview other people that had similar experiences, which was really healing for me. And then it turned into like interviewing experts. And as you guys know, like you get one-on-one time and masterclass education with like pretty much any topic that you're interested in through the podcast. So like the podcast has just been such an incredible education tool in that regard as well. Because I've been doing it for 6 years. You know, you guys are on episode 293 with this one. I'm on like 285 or something, you know?
Nice.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Because I was listening to it the other day, and there was the gentleman that was supposed to be paralyzed, but he was able to walk. I thought that was
he unparalyzed himself.
Right, he became mobile after being. Wait, Rob, you must.
He's walking about 400 yards. That's how far he's walking.
Bro,
about 8
bro,
years.
to say I'm paralyzed and I can walk anything. That's
right.
amazing.
That's I was like,
yeah, bravo.
Yeah, shout out Robert Paler. He'd be a great guest for you guys too. His story in a nutshell. Get this, guys. He was in the National Collegiate Championship of Rugby, 6'8". The guy was 6'8", massive dude. And within the first 2 minutes, he became paralyzed. He became a paraplegic. And not only that, but it was an illegal hit that caused him to be paralyzed. And he just released his book talking about it a few weeks ago on the 8-year anniversary of his accident. And he's got one of the most positive attitudes and mindsets I've ever come across. And he's released all the anger given him, this guy, like all the forgiveness for hitting him on that illegal hit. And I mean, talk about inspiration, you know?
Wow.
right. Yeah, it was actually very interesting. I would have been still mad.
Absolutely. 8 years later,
you need some breathing.
Yeah, you need to do your breath work, bro.
Yeah.
Gotta do some breath work. You need to exercise in a journey.
Yeah.
Well, just going by that, going more into your podcast with over the 280 episodes. Like, what have been some of your guests that you least expected to, like, oh, that really enlightened you? Like, what are some of the guests that really have shown, like, wow, this is something amazing?
Yeah, I mean, there's this guy Coop Blackson. He was incredible. He shared the stage with Oprah, and I did a podcast with him now twice, but the first one was about 2 years ago, and I still share that podcast with people all the time today. And I'll send it to you guys too. You'll love it because it's a master class, not just about triggers, but like when those situations come up where you feel like you're in the heightened state, like looking at the other person as a mirror of yourself. And this is where he's very spiritual. This is where it gets like super woo or whatever you want to say. And it's like, well, it's not about the other person. They're just an extension of you. It's about what's coming up within you as a result. And when you can make that mindset shift, now all of a sudden you approach it with gratitude because you're taking ownership and responsibility, being like, it's not that other person. This is happening for a reason, and it's for my growth and development. And when you take that mindset shift, that's when you go from like victimhood to stepping into your sovereignty, stepping into your power, like empowerment, you know?
So let me ask you this, Sam. On your journey, did you ever start off with just your normal therapy, or you just you did? So so that how did that work out for you?
Not very well. Like I don't talk negatively about talk therapy. I just haven't had any positive experiences with it. You know,
I got you.
I like that though, because your journey, your actual journey in life, and the way that you've been able to mentally elevate and be where you are, you did take care of your mental health, but you just didn't do it through the normal the normal way that we know of. And I like having you on the show because I like to talk about mental health all the time, but I had no idea that there's other things other than just talking to a therapist or getting some medications to keep you from depression. So
we did have a sound therapist on here before too.
Yeah. That's where the breathwork came. That's the first time I heard about breathwork. Yeah.
Cool.
And she did the sound bar on me, or the sound, I forget.
I forgot what it was called.
Yeah, but it sound bath. Thank you so much. But that moved me that day. That moved me. One tear. Tear.
Like this.
No, I'm dead serious. It was emotional, man. Like what?
Nobody has one tear.
No, I still to this day, I'm a weird one tier kind of guy. Like I'll have one, like even I'll be like on the couch, like watching a movie by myself, and something emotional happens in the movie or show or whatever, and I'll feel stuff bubbling up to the surface, and then I fight it, and then finally I have one slow tear coming. I'm like, there's literally no one here.
You can do it all you want. You can ball out all you want.
Yeah,
no noise. You ain't making no sniffle, no noise. It's just
yeah.
Just like the Native American from the recycling commercial from the 70s. You don't remember that commercial?
That was a deep cut. What is that commercial?
It was a one tier. We're talking about one tiers.
All right.
Yeah. That's the most famous one tier I know.
I'm gonna have to
Sam, is
that.
there any other plans over? Well, I guess you kind of did allude to it, but do you have any plans right now to writing any more books?
No more. You know, I thought after my 4th Soul Life Balance, I was like, I don't know. I'm sure I'll write another book in my life, but I don't know when. And then less than a year later, I wrote another. And then a year later, I wrote another. So right now I'm kind of at that same stage where I'm like, yeah, I have no idea when I'm writing another book, but I have no inspiration or interest in writing another. It's just kind of one of those things, like when it comes, you know?
All right. Almost like the same thing you said about the ayahuasca. It has to be called. Yeah, they have to call to you. It has to be called.
Yeah, that's what I was. I was thinking that when he said how the books came to him in the first place. I was like, oh, I guess he's got to call him too. I mean, it's the same situation
for sure.
Yeah. They come to him.
All right. All right. We got any more questions for Sam?
Yeah, like when are these? When are these? How do you become part of the Breath Club? And when are these sessions take place and things of that nature?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking, Yoda. It's every Wednesday at 11 Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Every Wednesday. The link is samkabert.com/club. Once again, that's Sam Kabert, K-A-B as in boy, ERT.com/club. And all it takes is entering, I think it's your first, last name, and email. That's it. After that, you'll get an automated email giving you access and sending you an invite to join the calendar. So super simple.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Nice, because I might check that out.
I'm
It sounds
definitely
very
gonna check it
You
out.
guys do?
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm gonna
It
do
sounds very interesting and helpful. That's the thing.
Yeah, you know, we were talking about like talk therapy and medications and things like that. We loosely touched that a couple of times, and you know what I think is so crucial is that we all learn how to access our own inner Yoda. You know, because we all have that own inner wisdom, and it's kind of like Joseph Campbell's famous archetype of the hero's journey with the 12 journey cycle, and it always starts with the hero who's answering the call. Then the hero meets the mentor. And in the case of Star Wars, Luke Skywalker meets not just Yoda, but Obi-Wan as well, right? But Yoda is really the one who gives him like his answers and his wisdom and all of that. And a lot of times we look outside of ourselves for answers, such as, you know, a friend holding space or a therapist, whatever it might be. But when we can find the inner stillness within ourselves, we can find the access point to those answers within ourselves as opposed to outsourcing it to someone else. So more than anything, like I don't want people to continuously work with me or anything else. Like I'm not like that. It's like I just want to guide people to find ways to access their own inner wisdom or access their own inner Yoda, you know?
Absolutely. Not that Yoda. Yoda of Star Wars.
Yeah.
You don't want that inner Yoda. No,
No, you definitely don't want the inner Yoda commercial. No, man, no, sir.
Come on, guys. Come on.
I don't want you. I do not want you inside of me.
But if it's Yoda from Star Wars, right?
Yeah,
Right.
that guy. Yeah, the higher conscience Yoda.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, guys.
Seriously, right?
See how much love I got on this podcast.
Oh,
Sam, you need to
people
co-host.
people who listen to this podcast really understand it. Like,
Yeah,
you
that
are
we
right.
do not want that inner Yoda. Yes. If this is your first time hearing this, you understand.
That's funny.
293. You understand.
You guys.
That's
All right.
amazing.
Any more questions for Sam?
Nah, Sam, I appreciate you coming on here. You got a lot of like good information.
I do have a question because Yoda brought up the Zoom, and I'm assuming you do your breath journeys and your breath exercises for the Breath Club. But do you actually do in home, like in California, or do you have clients online that you have specific outside of the Zoom network?
Yeah, absolutely. Both is the short answer.
Okay. How will they get in touch with you for that then?
Yeah, just reach out, Sam at Sam Kabert. My website, samkabert.com. Send me a DM on any social media platform. Email me. There's a form on my website. Send me a raven, whatever works, you know.
Ravens. All right.
I've been rewatching Game of Thrones. Send me a raven.
Crazy.
Cheers.
Yeah.
What you gonna do when that raven pop up?
Right. When I get this homing pigeon together, my homing pigeon system together, I'm sending it. That's all right.
That's crazy.
All right. Well, we want to thank Sam Kabert for coming on from the
for
founder
sure.
of the Breath Club. Let me give him a round of applause.
Yeah.
I'll see you on a Wednesday at 2. I gotta
for sure.
That's actually a good time for me.
I know they already asked you like a couple of times, but before we go, we always like to know how people can find you on these world webs, these social medias, find out more about you, find out the books, find out more about your work, or more places you might be appearing. I didn't even ask that if you're appearing anywhere that people can come and see you talk about all this stuff. Like, where can they find you on all these social medias and all that good stuff?
Yeah, everything's at Sam Kabert. That's K-A-B as in boy, E-R-T, at Sam Kabert. And for the past month, at the time of this recording, past 2 months, I've been posting 3 videos a day on every single social media outlet. I mean, I think it's the major ones at least. So wherever you're at, if this is resonating with you, just hit follow there, and 3 different short minute and a half videos a day about the topics that we're talking about.
Awesome.
All right. Lou, how can they find you?
My name is Lou Belgium. I'm on them Instagrams.
Yo,
you can find me on Instagram at I am 302YODA. It's in the game.
Oh boy.
It was kind of
It was
announcery.
giving that EA Sports.
I was thinking more the truckers, the Bigfoot and the trucker. Sunday.
You can find Bruising Banter Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter at Bruising Banter Podcast. You can also go to www.bruisingbanter.com if you want to check us out there. You can get merch like I got on, like Yo got on. If you want to listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, you can say Alexa play Bruising Banter Podcast because we're on Amazon Music as well. You want to follow me, Rob Stay Bruising. There it is. Bing, 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 bing. Oh, Lou, I'm sorry. Lou has it on as well.
He was going to keep his shirt up.
I don't like being not in. I don't like when I'm not included. I get triggered.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, love it.
Deeply when I'm not included.
So Lou, when was it from your past?
I was going to wait.
Sam.
When was it from your past that you felt not included? Was it not getting picked for a sports team
these
or
two
something like
motherfuckers didn't try to include me for the first 2.5 years. But
see, there you go. There it is, right there.
But you know what? It wasn't. To be honest, sometimes it was their fault, and sometimes they didn't even know what they was doing because they're brothers, like they're literal brothers, and they grew up together, and they have a unspoken brotherhood type of thing. You know what I mean? So it's cool now, though.
Damn, I don't know if y'all go into this in your field, but delusion. Like,
what am I delusional about?
Things are just in people's head, right?
So it was. So what? It was 3 years and not 2. It was 3 years and not 2.
That's another Star Wars reference. At some point, Han Solo goes delusions of grandeur or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
well, my delusions that you saying I have were not grandeur.
Well,
all right. All right. Once again, we want to thank Sam Kabert for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, Sam.
293 at Brews and Banter Podcast. Until next time.
Have a good week, everyone.
Bye.
Later.
I'm gonna just act like I can hear the music.
I'm never gonna do that anymore.
I don't know what he did.